Bitcoin rallying today, and the word on the street is that rumors of Bitcoin's demise could be greatly exaggerated. Bob Pisani is at the NYSE to break down what could drive a big Bitcoin comeback. Hey, Bob.
What, me exaggerate? Forget about it. Rumors that Wall Street still wants to offer crypto services just won't go away. Bloomberg is reporting that Morgan Stanley is planning to offer complex derivatives tied to Bitcoin. Now, these derivatives will give investors synthetic exposure to the performance of Bitcoin futures contracts. Investors will be able to go long or short these contracts. Bloomberg said the bank is set to launch once there is proven institutional client demand and after an internal approval process has been done. We reached out to Morgan Stanley, by the way, and they declined to comment on this story, so no confirmation here. Goldman Sachs is also exploring derivatives on Bitcoin called non-deliverable forwards. Now, you'll recall that Business Insider initially reported that Goldman was backing off on its Bitcoin trading operations, but the Goldman CFO refuted that at a recent TechCrunch conference.
I think one of the wonderful things about being at Goldman Sachs is we do get written about a lot, and I never thought I'd hear myself actually use this term, but I'd really have to describe that as fake news.
Okay, so why are these firms exploring derivative products instead of just trading Bitcoin? It's regulatory issues. It's a big problem. Custody is the big problem. The SEC has made it clear they are not going to approve Bitcoin ETFs until the issue of custody is resolved. But how can firms safely store cryptos and, most importantly, the private keys? Self-storing is not going to work. The SEC requires private funds with significant assets to use a third party. So crypto company BitGo is among the companies that are looking to fill that gap. Today, they received a charter from the South Dakota Division of Banking. They'll have to file financial audits, adhere to know your customer and anti-money laundering rules, and file monthly disclosures. But if they can crack this custody thing, this will be a big leap for Bitcoin. Melissa, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Bob Pisani. For more on this, we brought in our very own Bitcoin baller, Brian Kelly, because we had to get his take on this. BK, how important are these two developments, the Morgan Stanley and BitGo?
So I think the Morgan Stanley is important for sentiment because you saw what happened with Goldman Sachs. People have been waiting for the herd, the institutional herd to come. And so the fact that Morgan Stanley and Citibank, that helps sentiment. The custody is actually probably a bigger deal because that's been the real roadblock. If you have more than $150 million under management and you're a private fund, you can't custody your own assets. So you can only get so big in this particular space. With custody, institutional quality custody, regulated custody, that's a big step forward.
All right. For more on how this latest development from BitGo can help Bitcoin make a comeback, we are bringing in Mike Belshe, the CEO of BitGo. Mike, great to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
What sort of interest have you gotten so far?
Well, it's been ongoing for the last couple of years now. As traditional finance has started to get engaged with cryptocurrency, as the market has grown and shown that it's got real promise for the future, the interest has just continued to grow. So it's everywhere.
What's your guess as to who your first customers will be? What sorts of clients?
Right. So, I mean, in the spectrum of folks that need custody, there's more aggressive and there's less aggressive. There's a number of hedge funds, family offices, wealth management. They're all looking for solutions. Frankly, if we had solutions, 2 years ago, the entire market would be much farther along than it is today.
Hey, Mike, so one of the issues with custody in the past in Bitcoin has been it's very slow to get out of cold storage. Some places will take 2 or 3 days to get the assets. And so for a trader like me, that doesn't work. Your new offering, what's the time frame on that? Do you have different tiers for traders versus longer-term investors?
Absolutely. So BitGo's been servicing wallets, hundreds of exchanges globally for the last 5 years, one of the oldest players in the space. So we can marry combinations of on hot storage and cold storage. Cold storage is key to be slow, actually. You do not want to move $1 billion overnight. So if anybody's telling you that you can move that very quickly, you got to kind of wonder, what are they doing behind the scenes to keep that safe?
Are you only dealing with Bitcoin, or are you dealing across the spectrum of crypto?
No, we're excited about actually all the digital assets and cryptocurrencies. So we support about 10 different blockchains today, about 75 different coins and tokens overall, and seeing growth across all of them.
Custody seems like a really important aspect of this, but when you hear about Goldman Sachs possibly, I don't know how you want to phrase it, not being as optimistic about rolling out a trading desk as maybe previously thought, Morgan Stanley's move, does Bitcoin really need Wall Street, these institutional players, or is it just the custody that has been the biggest barrier for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to actually to grow significantly?
Well, custody's certainly been a barrier for institutions to get in. As Brian mentioned, they're required from a regulatory perspective to have a regulated, qualified custodian, and that's a particular entry point which you can't go without. They are fiduciaries to their clients, and so they're required to make sure that they have the highest security, the highest regulatory compliance, AML, money laundering controls possible. So that has to exist, and without the infrastructure having been in place for the last couple of years, it's definitely slowed us down.
I'm going to ask you this question, BK.
Let's do it.
Does Bitcoin need Wall Street more than Wall Street needs Bitcoin?
Well, what Bitcoin needs is fresh capital coming in. So we haven't seen a lot of new buyers coming in. So to the extent that Wall Street represents that, yes, Bitcoin needs that. I can tell you just anecdotally, the institutional herd is starting to move their feet a little bit. They've taken a lot longer than I expected. I'm a little blue in the face from holding my breath until they get here, but it's starting to happen.
And this makes you how much more optimistic?
Much more optimistic. This is a solution. I mean, I actually have been a customer of BitGo for a long time now, and this product and having it regulated by state banking authority changes the game for me.